Get your stuff and get out! The landlord's voice thundered through the hallway, his finger jabbing toward the door. The black veteran, standing tall in his faded military jacket, clenched his fists. "You can't just throw me out like this!" The landlord smirked, crossing his arms. "Oh, but I can. You're overdue, and I don't do charity." The hallway fell silent. Other tenants peeked out from their doors, watching the tense standoff. "I fought for this country." The veteran's voice was steady but laced with pain. The landlord scoffed. "And? That uniform means nothing to me. What happens next? He has no idea who he just messed with. Watch until the end. This shocking twist will leave you speechless." The air inside the dimly lit hallway was thick with tension. The faint hum of fluorescent lights flickered overhead, casting eerie shadows against the cracked, off-white walls. Boom! 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 A loud, aggressive knock rattled the apartment door like a judge about to deliver a death sentence. The silence afterward was deafening. From the other side of the door, Marcus Tate, a retired black veteran in his early 50s, stood motionless, his calloused hands tightened around his cane, his knuckles turning white. His chest rose and fell in slow, deliberate breaths, but inside, his pulse pounded like a war drum. Another loud pound at the door. "Open up, Tate!" The voice was sharp, filled with authority and absolute disregard. It belonged to Daniel Whitmore, the building's arrogant, ruthless landlord, a man who wore designer suits as if he were running Wall Street instead of a rundown apartment complex. Marcus swallowed hard. He knew this moment was coming. He had seen the eviction notice taped to his door days ago, but the weight of his pride kept him from reading it. Now there was nowhere left to run. His time had run out. Click. The lock turned, and Marcus opened the door slowly, his worn-out military jacket draped over his shoulders like a second skin. He stood tall despite the slight limp in his left leg, a souvenir from his service overseas. "Took you long enough," Whitmore sneered, stepping inside uninvited. His expensive cologne polluted the air. His polished leather shoes squeaked against the wooden floor. Behind him, two bulky security guards stood like statues, their arms crossed, faces unreadable. Marcus gritted his teeth. "What do you want, Whitmore?" Whitmore let out a mocking chuckle, shaking his head. "You already know why I'm here." He reached into his tailored blazer and pulled out a neatly folded piece of paper. With a dramatic flick of his wrist, he tossed it onto the old wooden table in the center of the room. It landed with a whisper, but the impact was deafening. Marcus didn't need to open it. He already knew. "Your time is up, Tate. I need you out. Now." Marcus locked eyes with the man who had made his life a living hell for the past few months. He could feel the judgment in Whitmore's cold stare. "You're just another broke veteran, another statistic." Marcus felt his blood boil. His entire life had been about discipline, honor, service, yet here he was, treated like he was worthless. "I just need a little more time," Marcus said, his voice steady but laced with urgency. "I'll have the money soon." Whitmore smirked, fake sympathy dripping from his tone. "Oh, Marcus. See, that's the problem. I don't care. You think because you fought in some war decades ago, people should bow down and give you handouts." Marcus's fists clenched, his entire body tensed. "I didn't ask for a handout," he said through gritted teeth. "I just need— No. What you need to do is get out of my building." Whitmore snapped his fingers, and the two security guards stepped forward, towering over Marcus like executioners, ready to deliver the final blow. Marcus staggered back, gripping his cane tightly. His heart pounded as a lifetime of battles, both on the battlefield and in society, flashed through his mind. He had survived bullets, bombs, and ambushes, but nothing hurt quite like this. Evicted, thrown away, like he was nothing. Whitmore smirked again, turning to leave. "You have 1 hour, Tate. Pack up your junk. If you're still here when I get back, these men will make sure you're gone." He stepped out into the hallway, leaving Marcus standing there, stunned, humiliated, and enraged. The door slammed shut. Marcus exhaled shakily, his jaw tightening. His mind raced. This wasn't over. Marcus stood motionless in the empty apartment, staring at the eviction notice on the table. 1 hour. That's all he had before they forced him out. The weight of it all settled on his chest like a brick. He had nothing left. No savings, no family to turn to, no backup plan. A war hero reduced to a statistic. The old radiator in the corner rattled as if it, too, was falling apart. His breath was heavy, slow. He had seen war. He had faced death. But nothing had prepared him for this. Then, something shifted inside him. Number not this time. Marcus's fingers curled into fists, his jaw tightening. He had been pushed around, treated like dirt for too long. This wasn't just about an eviction. This was about dignity. If Whitmore wanted a fight, he was damn sure going to get one. The apartment building's lobby was eerily quiet as Marcus made his way downstairs. His boots echoed against the tile floor, his steps slow but purposeful. At the entrance, Whitmore stood smugly, leaning against the marble counter as if he owned the entire world. Beside him, 2 security guards, built like brick walls, watched Marcus like vultures eyeing a dying animal. Well, well, well. I thought you'd be gone by now, old man, Whitmore sneered, adjusting his watch. Marcus exhaled through his nose. I'm not leaving. A brief silence. The guards shifted uncomfortably, sensing the change in the air. Whitmore scoffed, shaking his head. You really want to go out like this, Tate? Humiliated? Dragged out like a criminal? Marcus stepped closer, his gaze locked onto Whitmore's. I served this country for 20 years. I bled for it. And now I get thrown out like garbage. Whitmore smirked, mocking. Oh, here we go. The veteran speech. I bet you think that uniform still means something, huh? The security guards shifted again, but Marcus saw it. The slight hesitation in their stance. They weren't so sure about this anymore. I may not have money, Marcus said, voice low and steady, but I have something you don't. Whitmore rolled his eyes. Oh, yeah? And what's that? Marcus leaned in, his voice ice cold. Respect. The room froze. Even the guards stopped breathing. Whitmore, caught off guard, forced a laugh. But Marcus could see it. For the first time, there was fear in his eyes. Whitmore's smirk dropped. He turned to the guards, snapping his fingers. Get him out of here! The 2 men hesitated. Marcus took a step back, lifting his hands slightly. You really gonna do this, huh? Put your hands on a veteran? On a man who fought for your freedom? One of the guards shifted, clearly uncomfortable. But the other? He wasn't backing down. Before Marcus could react, the bigger guard reached for him. Fast, aggressive. Bad move. Marcus sidestepped instantly, grabbing the guard's wrist in a split second. With a practiced twist, he used the man's momentum against him, slamming him into the counter. Crash! The guard's body hit the marble with a sickening thud. The second guard lunged forward, but Marcus was ready. He ducked, driving his elbow into the man's ribs before sweeping his legs out from under him. Thump! The guard hit the floor, gasping for air. A beat of silence. Marcus straightened up, adjusting his jacket like nothing happened. Whitmore stood frozen in shock. You just assaulted my security, he sputtered. Marcus stepped toward him, voice calm. Number, I defended myself. The lobby was dead silent. The receptionist, the tenants, even the security cameras, all watching. Whitmore's face flushed red. You're done, Tate, he hissed. I'll have the cops here in... Psst. Whitmore's phone buzzed in his pocket. He glanced at the screen, and his face turned pale. His eyes darted to Marcus, then back to the phone. He was shaking. Marcus narrowed his eyes. Something wrong? Whitmore swallowed hard. His lips parted, but no words came out. Marcus could feel it. Something big was happening. Something Whitmore never saw coming. Whitmore's hands trembled as he read the message on his phone. His arrogant smirk had vanished, replaced by pure terror. Beads of sweat formed on his forehead, his breathing uneven. Marcus stood motionless, arms crossed, watching the panic unfold. He didn't have to do anything. Whitmore was crumbling on his own. The silence in the lobby was deafening. The tenants, the security guards, everyone waited. Marcus took a slow step forward, his deep voice slicing through the tension. "Something wrong, Whitmore." Whitmore's head snapped up. His lips parted, but no words came out. He had been outplayed, and he knew it. Then the front doors slammed open. 2 uniformed police officers strode in, followed by a well-dressed woman carrying a briefcase. A lawyer. The lawyer, a sharp-looking black woman with fierce eyes, wasted no time. She pulled out a stack of papers and handed them directly to Whitmore. "Mr. Whitmore," she said, her voice smooth but commanding, "these are official charges filed against you for illegal evictions, discrimination, and financial fraud. As of this moment, you are being placed under investigation by the State Housing Authority." Gasps rippled through the crowd. The tenants exchanged looks, whispers spreading like wildfire. Whitmore's face turned ghostly white. This is a mistake," he stammered. "I have powerful connections." The officer nearest to him stepped forward, his tone cold and authoritative. "That may be true, sir, but as of today, those connections won't save you." The entire room erupted into murmurs. The once invincible Whitmore was falling, and everyone was witnessing it in real time. Marcus inhaled deeply, allowing himself to take in the moment. This wasn't just justice, it was poetic. As Whitmore was being confronted, a tenant, an elderly woman, cautiously approached Marcus. Her wrinkled hands trembled as she reached for his arm. "Mr. Tate," she whispered, "you did this for all of us, didn't you?" Marcus looked around the room. The faces of the tenants, people who had suffered under Whitmore's cruelty for years, were filled with hope for the first time. He gave the old woman a nod, his voice steady. No one should be afraid of losing their home because of greed. Another tenant, a young mother clutching her child, spoke up. "You fought for us when no one else would. Thank you." The weight of their words hit Marcus harder than any battlefield ever had. For years he had fought wars overseas. But this was a different kind of battle, and he had won. Whitmore, still in shock, watched the exchange. His world was collapsing, and there was nothing he could do. The power he had once wielded over these people was now dust. The officer finally spoke. "Mr. Whitmore, you need to come with us." Whitmore's jaw clenched. He looked around one last time, searching for someone, anyone, to defend him. But there was no one left. As Whitmore was escorted out, Marcus turned, ready to leave the past behind him. But before he stepped out, he stopped. Slowly, he faced the entire room. "This isn't just about me. It's about all of us. People like Whitmore think they can take and take and take because they think we won't fight back." He glanced at the tenants, some nodding, some wiping away tears. But they're wrong, because when we stand together, they lose. A hush fell over the crowd, and then a single clap, then another, and another. Within seconds, the entire room was clapping, cheering for Marcus, for justice, for the power of standing up. For the first time in years, Marcus felt something stir deep inside him. Peace. As he stepped out into the cool evening air, a voice called after him, "Mr. Tate!" He turned. The young mother approached, holding out an envelope. "The tenants put this together for you." Marcus frowned, unfolding it. Inside was a set of house keys, his brows furrowed. "I don't understand." The woman smiled. "The building's under new management now, and we want you to stay. This is your home, too." For the first time in a long, long time. Marcus Tate smiled. "Stand up. Speak out. Fight for what's right. When you stand together, justice wins. What would you have done if you were Marcus? Comment below. If this story moved you, hit that like button. Subscribe for more powerful stories.